I just want to extend a very warm welcome to everyone here. I know a lot of investors here are here at GITEX and probably in the region for the first time. So it's a lot of gratitude and hospitality that we want to extend to yourselves. Very importantly, yesterday, being day one, if anything is to go by, day one is always the slowest day for GITEX. So we're going to be rocking the next few days, at least when during the time that you're here. And of course, what is heartening for us is this year, we have reached a watershed moment. We're now the largest tech and startup show in the world. And that can only be possible with all your support and you guys all being here. And of course, this year we're hosting a good 600 of us investors. I think a good 80% of you are coming from overseas. And we have 5,000 companies here across 26 halls. We're also very proud to make two announcements. We have launched GITEX Impact for May next year. So we expect a lot of you to come back. It's on ESG, it's on green investing, impact investing, green financing, and all the tech solutions. Of course, on this one, I'm very delighted to announce our dear friend Hamad from Dubai Financial Market, whom you'll meet shortly, is also, a big participant in the program. And just at 12 o'clock today, we're going to be having a press conference to announce GITEX Africa. I think it is the next, and we all know it's the next biggest digital economy in the world. And we are going to take our global communities and yourselves to Africa next year. It's going to be in Marrakesh in June, and I think nobody can resist Marrakesh. It's like Dubai. It's the top 10 in the world in a TripAdvisor as a popular destination. So we hope to see many of you there, and I'm sure Africa ranks very high in your global agenda. So on that note, I'll hand you over to our guests, and I wish you a very good 2-3 days that's ahead for you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Triska Hamid. I am an editor at WAMDA, which is an ecosystem enabler based in the region. We invest in startups, and we also have a thought leadership platform. We've been around for about a decade. We have here His Excellency Hilal Al-Mari, Director General of the Dubai Department of Economy and Tourism, Dubai World Trade Center Authority, and Chairman of Dubai Financial Market. And Mr. Hamad Ahmed Ali, the CEO of Dubai Financial Market and Nasdaq Dubai. Welcome, gentlemen. Please start your conversation.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, welcome to Dubai. It's good to see so many of you here. I understand that the majority of people are visiting from outside, so I might take a few minutes just to talk a little bit about the Dubai ecosystem. And then really, it's an interactive session. So as mentioned, we'll open up for Q&A. So first and foremost, we start with the events. And, very happy to see the events industry growing strong. Post-COVID, we had our first event on the 7th of July 2020, which was quite early. And it was an AI event focused on AI and startups in the AI industry. It was relatively smaller than this, but it was great to get the ball rolling. And since then, the events industry has continued to grow and to what you see today as arguably the largest tech event in the world. When it comes to Dubai as a hub, a lot's progressed here, a lot's changed over the years. And as a government, we've really focused on trying to create the enabling regulation for talent to flourish here. And as we look forward, at Dubai's, if you like, economic strategy, it all really does stem around, talent and the future of talent. In a sort of post-COVID world, we've had a quite interesting experience dealing with all sorts of corporates from around the world who have been thinking about the future of the office. The future of the office being an interesting topic to us because, we've noticed that people have become a lot more mobile in this sort of time, and that increased mobility has really brought cities like Dubai to the forefront. Today we sit as the largest city in the world for remote workers. These are people living here, working for companies in other locations. We've also seen people go the full circle. Many of the tech startups that we've met have started off as decentralized organizations with a few of their people here and have grown to end up having so many of their people here that they end up taking offices at WeWorks or somewhere and going the full circle. So it's been an interesting experience interacting with startups over the last 2 years. In terms of the financial ecosystem as well, we see many of the global VC funds, many local or regional VC funds, many family offices, really a real acceleration, especially in the family offices, into their investment into tech and startups. So when I say tech, really I'm talking about the full spectrum from virtual assets, blockchain, all the way through to health tech, food tech, and everything in between. We definitely, are, if you like, somehow lucky that our geographic location lends itself both in terms of connectivity and in terms of time zone. We also are seeing beyond, startups, being grown from here with the amazing talent that is here today, to startups moving here. And very many companies, once they reach around Series C funding, from a wider region, they look to Dubai to redomicile in order to really attract talent and be in that sort of, have that sort of business environment, where they can thrive. So that was kind of my introduction, just opening up the topic of sort of entrepreneurship and investment. But given the mandate and given where we are sitting today, I'm more than happy to talk about generally most sectors. And if there are any really hard questions, Hamid's with me as well. So I could turn to him as well for support in that.
Thank you, Your Excellency. On the back of that, I'd like to add a few notes in terms of how the capital markets have been doing this year. This year, we've done so far 3 IPOs on the back of growth that we've been seeing in Dubai. One of the things that we've seen during COVID, it was an opportunity for us to demonstrate our capabilities, the logistical capabilities and the ecosystem of Dubai. For us, COVID was a race where every government around the world was given the same challenge at the same time. There wasn't any playbook for COVID. And this is where we, through the government of Dubai, managed to demonstrate our abilities, that we focused on what matters. And for us, that was making sure people are safe and they feel safe. They sound the same, but they're 2 separate things. The second one was to make sure that there is a life after COVID. Whatever companies and people ended up building need to go on and continue. And our ability in the city was around to make sure that we manage the infrastructure around that, and we stay focused on those 2 different objectives. On the back of that, what we've seen a bigger concentration of the private sector, specifically around the fintech sector and the technology sector, as well as innovation, which is what His Excellency alluded toward. We wanted some of that to start being reflected on the market. So we looked at a number of different sectors that were high potential for growth. Capital market was one of those sectors. So this year, we started executing on the strategy of unlocking the capital market. We opened the year with the region's 2nd largest IPO, which was only outperformed in size by Aramco. The issuer wanted to raise $6.1 billion, and there was $85 billion on the table. That was followed by 2 other IPOs, where the recent one was Salik, aiming to raise approximately $1 billion, and there was $49 billion on the table. That's the size of the market. That's the appetite investors have on this market. On the overall index of the market, if you contrast Dubai with key capital markets in terms of index performance, we're one of the few markets where our index is performing positively. We're sitting roughly at around 7% in terms of year-to-date capital index performance, while our international counterparts are looking at double-digit negative numbers. Now, if you then take a macro view on Dubai in terms of the significance of that, on the back of the underlying economic growth in the market, what you'll start seeing is that if you look within a 6-hour flight radius, this is one region that has the highest concentration of the private sector concentration, driven toward innovation. It has an excellent talent pool, and it has the region's largest financial services sector. This, for us, is a recipe for growth, innovation, and the capital market aims to facilitate that.
Okay, we've had quite a lot there, just about how amazing Dubai is. From my perspective, I do look at the startup landscape quite closely, and we look at the investments, and this Dubai specifically attracts the greatest number of startups and also investors and investment. So maybe we can talk about why that is. Why has Dubai become such a hub, a regional hub and a global hub for the startup and the investment ecosystem? Hilal, maybe.
So look, I think it's important to look at on three levels. The first is, the prerequisite for especially the more innovative sectors is to ensure that the regulation is in place to, protect investors, to allow sectors to develop and flourish, and to ensure that it brings the confidence across the talent pool and the investment network. So an easy example of that is, we saw a lot of interest in the virtual asset sector. As a result, we made sure that we created a dedicated virtual asset regulator that's mandate is to ensure that we have very clear, very transparent regulation to not only catalyze the growth of the sector, but also to protect the most vulnerable. And that's been going very well. And we've had an amazing reaction from the industry, and we have a lot of partners from the industry in taking that forward. The second thing, is definitely around talent. And in order to really have a fast-growing entrepreneurial sector, and especially as companies are moving through their various phases of growth, and as we have a lot of companies here who are in the growth stage, who are moving from unicorns to decacorns and etc. And I think what's very important there is the ability to attract global talent, the ability to attract the best local talent. And Dubai is really, Dubai is improving on that all the time. And it needs to, the underlying part of that is that, us as a government, we measure happiness. And today, I think people are very interested not only in their job, but they're also interested in other aspects of life, even more so than they were 5 years ago. And Dubai delivers that. The third area is obviously capital. And given the region is long on capital, given the, given a lot of what's been happening in different parts of the world, we've attracted a lot more venture capital, asset managers, and a lot more family offices, over the past, I think, 3 to 5 years, that really makes this a major hub. With those three elements in place, at least the foundation is there to really see growth in innovation and in technology. But I'd like to also, as we said, open it up to the audience, because I want to give them a chance to ask questions.
Please, and ask your question.
Hi, this is Michael Elias from Global Net Solutions. We are from the US, but I would like to understand, the biggest IPO that you mentioned was Aramco, was basically oil and gas. Where do you see the next IPO, or which industry you see the next IPO should be in?
Yep. Good question. If you look at the composition of the market today, if you look at, for example, if you take Dubai, traditionally we've had very good representation when it comes to financial services and real estate on the market with other potential sectors. Where we're driving the market and where we see that growth in the pipeline and where investors are giving us the feedback is we need to see representation of the future sectors that will have significant contribution to the GDP on the market. So this year we had the utilities IPO. We still have 2 more or 3 more IPOs that will come over the next period, and they're bringing in new industries. So we're seeing tech heavily represented in the pipeline, and with at least one of them being confirmed in the window of the next 12 months in terms of the drive. If we were to choose which key sectors will see the biggest momentum and interest from investors, it would be sectors that are underrepresented when it comes to the MENA capital markets. The reason behind that, from an economic point of view, is very simple. You have a region that has a population of 420 million, in contrast to US, which is somewhere around 380. with a GDP of 1.3 trillion. If you take those numbers and you contrast it to any other market, the upside on this market is massive for tech companies, because there is still a catch-up that needs to be done for the wider region, and this is the role we play, both as an economy as well as a market, and that's the reason behind the drive for concentration.
One thing to add is we're seeing a lot more interest from tech companies in the debt capital markets as well. Maybe you want to say a few words.
Yeah, on the debt side, what we've done traditionally on the debt is we've been a lot more successful when it comes to the distribution. Today, we have one listing at least from every continent. We have Asian issuers listed with us, and we're seeing drive from edutech type of businesses. We're seeing classic tech come into the market. We're seeing creative vehicles around pushing the drive for growth when it comes to the tech sector on this part of the world. Over the next 2 to 3 years, one of the things that's very clear in terms of what we'll see in the region is the demand for capital, given that there is the underlying market demands a lot more distribution and penetration when it comes to technology.
Thank you. We've got a question right there.
Maya. Good morning. My name is Russ Shaw. I'm the founder of Global Tech Advocates. I travel to many tech hubs around the world, and a consistent theme that comes back time and time again is there's not enough skilled talent to support the growth in tech hubs. So I wanted to come back to your point. You talked about talent. Can you go a little bit deeper in terms of how you're developing homegrown talent here in terms of giving them the right skills, and what else you're doing to attract international talent to come here so that as companies grow and expand, they know that there's a really good talent pool, an entrepreneurial and skilled talent pool here?
So let me answer that question in two parts. The first is the homegrown talent. So what we've done is beyond the universities. So all the universities here, all the big universities have tech tracks now. And we've created partnerships between the universities and between the big tech giants. In addition to that, we've also developed a lot of work programs, graduate programs in all of the big players. So they're all recruiting heavily from the industry, from the local universities. And I think that really creates a baseline. When you have, and again, the numbers aren't massive on that side. It would be a couple of thousand tech graduates a year, which is not huge. Now, on the same time, what we've done is on the attraction side, we've created, we've looked at it in sort of three parts. The first is the ease of access. So we've created specific visa programs for tech talent, which give them a very simple process to get long-term visas for the UAE. In addition to that, we've created campuses and residential zones, which are targeted towards tech talent. They have all the enablers. So to build a real ecosystem, at the living point to allow people a very flexible live-work type environment. That's gone very well, and we have our first mega project, which is completed now and is filling up. The third thing is we've worked with a lot of the I would say the main companies we've worked with are the later stage startups. So the ones which I would argue they're potentially already unicorns and they're growing. And we've worked on them on two things. One is direct connection with the top tech universities regionally and internationally. The second thing is we're working with them on various type of competitive self-selecting programming type competitions to really get the very best developers here. One thing that I always mention to the team is, where do the top 50,000 AI developers sit? How many of them are in Dubai? That's the KPI. So, and then the last area is on specific companies that are having trouble with their tech base. So we've been working closely with some big Israeli fintechs and others, and how they can create sort of a secondary hub here and attract talent globally. Now, the good news is the KPIs show so far that of all the campaigns any of these companies have run worldwide, Dubai has been the best every time in terms of recruitment. So we are able to attract, and one of the latest trends is companies are bringing their own employees here from other markets such as India and the high-value tech talent in order to help with retention, because a lot of these companies have already recruited. But their problem is that their turnover rates are 20 and 30%. For tech companies in Dubai, most of them, their turnover rates are single digit or less, even low single digit in some cases. I think that makes a very big difference, and it's something we need to continue to work on. We definitely see this as one of the highest priority areas going forward. Interesting point to note is that some VCs that own a lot of tech companies in the West have started to look at creating their own outsourced tech talent hubs here for their investee companies, which is a new play that we've started to see come into the market, which is an interesting one that we hadn't seen before. A last area is we've seen a number of innovative companies which are basically tech companies themselves, but they specialize in basically recruiting and managing remote working talent. So we've seen an influx of those type of companies putting talent here that are remote workers as well, which is quite interesting. And I think in the first part of this year, I saw Q1 figures. We had ranging on the month between 10 and 20,000 tech professionals moving to Dubai per month, which is big numbers.
Question right here.
Good morning, Your Excellencies. Amir Hegazi, Managing Partner of Capital Democracy and author of a couple books on relevant topics, Startup Arabia and Ecosystem Arabia. When I rewind to 2005, I feel like a big catalyst for the tech ecosystem here has been the incentives giving to the likes of IBM and Microsoft and kind of getting those anchor tech companies in. Similarly, on the VC side, I feel like maybe there could be some incentives, if you can speak on that, to anchor global VCs in Silicon Valley and whatnot to come into the region. If you can kind of shed some light on any plans for that.
Look, I think in our conversations with VCs, the main, they haven't really been looking for the same type of incentivization we've given for startups. So on the startup ecosystem, where we've had high potential startups, we have created for them packages so they can grow here. Like an example, one of the companies which is actually in the same location here is Katopi. And they started off in a very small subsidized office, and then grew to doing very well today and being well into their sort of unicorn status. For the VCs, what we're hearing from them is the most important thing for them is access to deals. And they are interested in the wider region. So really using Dubai as a hub to access Africa, to access CIS, Turkey, and the whole region has been very positive for them. Some of them, as they start to look at dedicated funds for the region or funds that will cross over more for the region, they are raising from here. But that's not something new. They've been raising from here a while. But I think as they become more entrenched, they're going beyond the sovereign wealth funds to the family offices, to a wider sort of pool of investees. And that's what's happening. And we see significant co-investment opportunities that people are getting with them, in the follow-up rounds to these investments. Please.
Yes, hello.
We'll go to you.
Sorry.
Yes. Just a question. I'm Benjamin Messica from Davency, a Web3 financial services company in France. And I have a question regarding the regulation, because you have implemented VARA in Dubai, and I would like to know the next steps in terms of regulation in Dubai for the coming months or coming years.
Well, look, the regulatory body was announced in December. It was set up in March. It began the MVP with around 50 key companies this summer, across the board, from exchanges to Web3, metaverse, all sorts of different type of companies, and that's expected to go through this quarter, and the detailed regulations are expected to be published also at the end of this quarter. So you will find by Q1 next year people can apply directly, it looks relatively promising. I think not all the regulation will be there. There might be some specific regulation for specific subsectors, but all the main sectors, if you like, or segments, will have the regulation published, over the course of the rest of this year.
Okay, this lady here.
Hi, I'm Liran Ezralant. I'm a managing partner of Miron Capital. We're a venture capital in Israel, based focusing on early stage. You've been describing all these amazing initiatives to try and support the growth, and I'm curious as to your opinion. What is the remaining bottlenecks, or perhaps the next opportunities to further expedite growth?
Look, I think if we give a specific example of Israel, I think that's a good one to talk about with the opportunity. One of the things we see, a market like Israel has that we don't have here today yet, is that there is a very deep level of IP, which we see with some of the companies there. And I think what those companies are looking for is they're looking for commercialization. And they're looking also to develop talent around that to be able to grow internationally. And that's where we see the same, we see similar things with, Europe, for example. A lot of the startups in Europe, are facing challenges as they want to expand beyond the borders. They really need to move into higher growth markets. So the question is, are we able to play that cross-border role, which we've started to play, and we have success stories. For any market that we mentioned, whether it's Europe, whether it's Israel, whether it's the US, the startups that have looked to Dubai to really develop an innovation hub, to develop if you like, an export hub. We have now, over the last 3 years, let's say, in each sector, examples of excellent case studies. Now, the big challenge is how to scale that up, how to make sure that the VCs, the startups can look at these case studies, can understand how they can benefit from them. One small example is on e-commerce. Dubai is built on supply chain and logistics. Right, it is the best in the world. So if you're looking at companies, if you're looking at distribution, and you're looking at how do I reach the household in Africa, how do I deliver, to Europe, how do I have next day delivery, how do I have something coming, quicker than anywhere else in the world? We see the big players like Amazon putting global hubs here, but what we also see is the different, fast-growing e-commerce players globally in more specialized areas, looking at where they can hub, looking at how they can really utilize an infrastructure which is already built, which is a plug and play. And it's these things, these are our challenges, how we can build on them and scale up. You've got one good example, two good examples that have just moved in. Same story with fintech. We have some very good examples of how they've moved in, they've brought the talent. And the question now is, how do we scale up? And our challenge now is really, how do we work with, and it seems to be working with the VCs, to be honest, to really, if you like, look at the different challenges their startups face, and which ones Dubai fits well with.
Gentleman over there.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for all those insights. My name is Marcel Dredge. I'm on the board of the European Business Angel Network. We've been coming here for many years, and we're seeing the awesome things that you guys are leading. Question for you. If you have to have a couple of big bets in the next 5 years, outside supply management, outside e-commerce, outside fintech, what would that be if you have to send a strong message for all those smart guys out there that are really coming to Dubai but need some guidance? Would it be AI as an example, across verticals as an example? Maybe space tech? Thank you very much.
Look, I think digitalization in a wider topic across the economy regionally is a very big topic, right? And that's whether it's in manufacturing, which is very large. You know, we're a massive manufacturing hub. You know, I was joking with somebody because they were saying, oh, we didn't realize Dubai is a manufacturing hub. I said, we had the largest snowboard factory in the world here, and nobody snowboards. There's like 3 people who snowboard on sand for Instagram, but apart from that, nobody snowboards. And we see digitalization, automation, you know, Industry 4.0 as a big topic. Virtual assets, blockchain. You know, there's a winter right now, but as this market matures, you know, you're talking a 5-year outlook for sure, a very big topic. We're also seeing biotech and health tech, very big topic, because, you know, there's a lot of challenges when you look at the evolution of that industry, and there's a lot of regulatory hurdles which you know, in some markets where you know, entrepreneurs and innovators are not able to sort of break through. Here we have a much more collaborative approach, and we see that as another big area. And I'm focused purely on tech here. You know, in the traditional industries, you know, there's a lot more going on, obviously.
Lady over here.
Hello, Your Highness. My name is Christine Wang. I used to work and live in North America for about 25 years. I used to be the global leader of Big Data and AI division in IBM, so quite a lot of my working time is based in New York State. A few years back, I went back to China. I convinced one of the largest laboratory company in China to be my major shareholder of my own AI company. So as the founder and the CEO of this AI company, my entire team specializes in AI medical devices. So one thing that I have built over the time is integrated team of experts in pathology, in big data, in machine learning, and a lot of business person as well. So with this particular public company in China, one of the major contributions they have is they have the access to more than 300 million people's patient data, as well as close to 3,000 medical tests. So that is a very big ingredient for AI company per se. So by far, my company already have a batch of the AI medical devices, which is the software-based devices. We specialize in cancer diagnostics. And now, because with this public company's funding and data support, we are very keen on going internationally. So UAE is the place we are looking for. So one particular question I have for you, Your Highness, is for you, because UAE, as you mentioned, is very you know, much focused on the digitization and the AI space. So, but when it comes to the healthcare, are you, do you have any concerns to open the healthcare industry to the international companies like my company, Path AI? This is the first question. The reason I'm asking this question is because it may, in some context, may involve healthcare data exposure. Secondly is, does the UAE government already have pre-built government policies and programs to support Path AI, this kind of international AI tech company, to come into the local region so that we can jointly build some further joint venture to grow the local AI talents in the healthcare market segment, and more so is to introduce more AI-based medical device type of product and services in your local region. Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much. And what I wanted to just sort of do, maybe because it was, you know, you explained quite a lot of detail. What you do is just speak about it in sort of three buckets. The first thing is we have been approached by a lot of AI companies from China and from other markets to conduct research here and to work much closer with the government. And the reason is because, you know, in order to avoid bias having a population like we have here with so many different nationalities, it really benefits AI companies, and I think that would be something that the team can explain a lot more offline. The second thing is that the healthcare sector here is predominantly driven by the private sector. So we have a very strong partnership with the private sector, as proven during COVID. But the lion's share of the private sector, even the premium side, is driven by the private sector. The third thing is that yes, we are partnering with health tech companies and even in AI. So, for example, we're currently partnering with companies that do specific AI MRI technology that does diagnostic of large populations quickly to for pre-screening and all of that type of stuff. So it's a big policy of the government to work in diagnostic side. You'll see in the coming months a lot of data coming out of Dubai to show that in terms of wellness, we far exceed as a city any other city in the world, and a lot of money's been invested into that. So for sure, we'll while you're here, we'll set you up with the healthcare team. And they are doctors, technology-focused doctors who really obsess over this stuff from the public health side. So we'll set that up separately for you.
This gentleman behind me.
Good morning, Your Excellency. Gauthier Soubran, representing Graphcore, a UK-based startup offering disruptive technology for AI compute altogether. I do qualify for sand surfing, so and also for these European tech companies that are looking for growing presence in the region. So certainly very much interested by all the positive vibes that you both of you are sending. My question is the following: how do you and your office can help companies like mine to go for moonshot type of project with disruptive technologies such as IPU from Graphcore allows in the realm of healthcare, natural language processing, and the likes, and not let maybe AWS take the lion's share and not let emerge very interesting technology altogether in partnership with European tech companies altogether. Thank you.
So we have a minister of AI who I think many of you will be meeting later on, and they have a team which really looks at the use of AI across government, the use of AI across companies, in the UAE. And they also have a lot of other initiatives around AI developers and everything else, and talent. So what we usually do with companies that are specific in AI and disruptive technologies, we basically set up with them. They go through exactly what you guys do in more detail, and then really try to give a help to introduce to the people who are conducting major projects. And based on that, if there's a fit, obviously, you get there. I would say that the big companies are also here, like AWS and others, and they're offering cloud services, they're offering other things. But the market is very wide, and we see we have not seen that sort of crowding out across technology sectors here. In fact, we've seen the opposite, and they all have a very big sort of arm where they're looking to work with more entrepreneurial companies, startups, and everything. And when I say they, I mean everyone from Accenture to Microsoft to AWS and everybody else. And you'll see even in the show on most of their stands, they have various partner companies, entrepreneurial companies, and companies they've invested in partnering with them as well.
Gentleman over there. Sorry.
I'd like to add. One of the other things that we've done as Exchanges is we've set up an acceleration program for fintech and IT companies where you get an express access to the market. We put the market's infrastructure at the disposal of the business plan. So what we do, we look at the story and we see is this a story that represents the type of companies we want to see on the market. We have investors from 212 different jurisdictions. And that itself can act as an amazing introduction and an unlock for the business. So I have the head of my business development is there. He has a very good KPI. You are one of them. So let's make sure that we take that offline. Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Vikram Gupta here. I'm the founder of IVCAP Ventures, a venture capital fund from India. First of all, I would like to congratulate you for creating such a powerful, strong and collaborative ecosystem in this region. I think it's a great job done, and we actually seeing, with this, GITEX itself is an example of the kind of ecosystem you have created. So thank you so much for doing that. In India, we have about 107 unicorns, and we have quite a few coming in the pipeline as well. In fact, we are bringing our own portfolio companies also to the region. We believe that there's a huge potential in this region. So we also heard from Mr. Hamid Ali that there are three IPOs which already happened, a few more in the pipeline. My question is more around, if the companies from outside of the region want to come and do IPOs here in this region, how do they do that? What is the potential to really do IPOs in the region for the companies coming from outside of the region?
It's our top priority when it comes to the setup point of view. If you look at traditionally what we've done, if we take the fixed income product as a template for where we're headed on the equity market, today we're the largest Sukuk exchange globally, and we're the largest fixed income platform in the entire region. We have issuers from ranging from China. We have issuers from every country around the GCC. We have Egyptians companies listed with us. When it comes to the regional listings on the market, we are number one across the top 10 regional exchanges in the region. So in terms of experience, that's something that we have. In terms of the regulatory aspect of it, it is something that we have in place. The unique advantage we have today is that we have two separate regulatory frameworks that you can choose from. You have the EUPD type, common law type of jurisdiction brought to you by Nasdaq Dubai through the DFSA, and then you have the onshore, which is converging very rapidly to mimic international best practices as well. So from a regulatory point of view, you have that flexibility. From the team's point of view, the strategic will is there. We are not an exchange where we'll sit here and say, give us your application only when it's complete. No, we will work with you. Because the type of stories, in terms of the way the capital market is positioning itself, is we want to celebrate stories that will become template for the future. So that question would have been, I think 5 years ago, we would have sat here and we would have aimed to figure a path toward how we end up doing that. Today is a standard business process for us in terms of doing it. Where we're interested is how do we position it? How do we structure it with you and your advisors where it adds substance to your business plan and actual growth side of the business. And I think you, as a principal of a company, you'd be interested in that. Yeah.
Okay, we've got less than 5 minutes left, so we can probably take one question.
Hi, good morning over here. Thank you very much for having us. My name is Dr. Tamasgan. I'm from Ethiopia, Africa. Actually, winner of the North Star pitch competition in Ethiopia. Thank you very much for hosting that as well. So our company, basically, we're pioneers in e-commerce and delivery. We're pioneers in SaaS model company automations, as automation is growing in Ethiopia. So now we've expanded to 2 more countries, South Sudan and Somalia. So another thing that we want to do is we want to establish a company here in order to expedite our expansion throughout African countries. So what can you provide us that, because most companies in Ethiopia normally open up companies in United States, which is very far away from us, and other European countries. But Dubai is a 6-hour flight from Ethiopia. So which makes it easily accessible for us, not only for us, but for a lot of startups in Africa. As you said earlier, Africa is the next biggest emerging market. So what can be done for us to make, to expedite the process of opening up a company here to run our other holding companies in Africa? Thank you very much.
So first of all, thank you very much for the question. We currently have, I'm trying to remember the exact number, but I think over 25,000 African companies headquartered here. It's a very large number, and it's growing, by the day. So essentially, the answer is that we definitely have, for startups like yourself, a concierge team that can help guide you to set up the company here, you don't really need legal advice because it's very standard. The key question is the team is going to ask is exactly what you will use this company for, because some people it's more for logistics, supply chain, some people it's more for talent, some people it's more for a sort of a head office to put their CFO, their key operations in and stuff like that. And really what it comes down to then in Dubai is you need to decide whether you want to have an onshore company or an offshore company. In your case, it will most likely be an offshore company in one of the free zones, and at that point in time, it really depends on the type of sort of recruitment you will do here, because obviously if you're doing a heavy recruitment, very talented staff, you want to be in a certain ecosystem that will dictate where you are and which free zone. But in your case, most likely it'll be more of a holding structure and it'll be more for supply chain. So in that case, you'll have a lot more flexibility of where you are. We would probably recommend close to one of the logistics hubs because then you'd be able to take advantage of all the 3PLs and everything else that are there. You'll probably find you end up, if you're in e-commerce, you end up for the, for your longer list of products, shipping more from here because it probably makes more sense. Now, one of the things for Africa is that DP World and some of the other players have bought a lot of last mile and a lot of logistics players in Africa, like Imperial and others. Definitely, from that side, you're at a major advantage here.
Okay, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. We're going to have to wrap up. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for that conversation. Just to reiterate an announcement that was made yesterday, North Star is spinning out into its own standalone event called Expand North Star and will be taking place in May next year. Gentlemen, thank you once again.
Thank all of you for your time. Thank you very much. I hope you found that useful.